Welcome to the Slumber Lab, where science gets sleepy and curiosity finds its cozy corner. Tonight, we're embarking on a gentle journey into one of the most fundamental questions that has puzzled humanity for millennia. Is time an illusion? It's a question that sounds almost too grand for bedtime, yet here we are, ready to drift through the mysteries of temporal reality, while your mind settles into that perfect space between waking and dreaming. Before we begin our quiet exploration, I'd love to know where in the world you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. There's something beautifully fitting about a video exploring time while we're all scattered across different moments, each experiencing our own unique slice of now. If you find this gentle voyage through the nature of time soothing or intriguing, I'd be ever so grateful if you gave the video a like and perhaps subscribed. It helps this little corner of contemplative science reach others who might need a peaceful pause in their day. Now, I do hope this isn't so fascinating that it keeps you awake, but if it does, well, at least you'll drift off having pondered one of the universe's deepest mysteries. So settle in, slow your breathing, and let's begin this dreamy exploration of time itself. Time has always been humanity's strangest companion. We measure it, save it, waste it, and constantly feel like we're running out of it. Yet when we try to grasp what time actually is, it slips through our fingers like morning mist. We live by its rhythm, schedule our days around its passage, and yet time remains one of the most mysterious aspects of our existence. Think about your own relationship with time for a moment. There are afternoons that stretch like taffy, where minutes crawl by with excruciating slowness. Perhaps you remember sitting in a waiting room, watching the clock hands barely move, each tick feeling like an eternity. Then there are evenings that vanish in what feels like seconds, where you look up from a good book or an engaging conversation to find that hours have somehow evaporated without your notice. This strange elasticity of time isn't just in your imagination. It's one of the first clues that our everyday experience of time might not tell the whole story. Your brain, that remarkable organ nestled in your skull, doesn't simply record time like a passive clock. Instead, it actively constructs your experience of temporal flow, weaving together memory, attention, and emotion into what feels like the steady march of moments. When you're bored, your brain becomes hyper-aware of time's passage. It's like having an overly enthusiastic internal timekeeper, marking every second with painful precision. But when you're absorbed in something meaningful, that same timekeeper seems to take a coffee break, allowing minutes and hours to slip by unnoticed. This isn't a flaw in your mental machinery. It's a feature, a reminder that time as we experience it is far more subjective than we might assume. Consider how time seemed to move when you were a child. Summer vacations felt endless, stretching out like vast territories of possibility. Each day was packed with new experiences, fresh discoveries, novel sensations that your developing brain carefully catalogued and stored. Looking back, those childhood summers seem to have lasted forever, rich with memory and meaning. But as we age, something curious happens. The years begin to accelerate. Birthdays arrive more quickly. Seasons seem to change before we're ready, and decades can feel like they've passed in the blink of an eye. This isn't simply nostalgia playing tricks on us. It's a genuine shift in how our brains process the passage of time, related to how we form and store memories. When everything is new, as it is in childhood, our minds create detailed records of each experience. Every first becomes a vivid bookmark in the timeline of our lives. But as we settle into routines and familiar patterns, our brains become more efficient. compressing similar experiences into mental shorthand. The result is that when we look back, there seem to be fewer distinct moments to remember, creating the illusion that less time has passed. This personal, psychological time exists alongside what we might call clock time, the steady, mechanical progression that governs our schedules and coordinates our social world. Yet even this seemingly objective time isn't quite what it appears to be. The very clocks we rely on are human inventions, artificial constructs we've created to impose order on something that might be far more fluid than we imagine. Throughout history, different cultures have conceived of time in radically different ways. Some have seen it as a circle, endlessly repeating. Others have imagined it as a spiral, combining repetition with progression. Still others have viewed time not as a river flowing in one direction, but as a landscape that can be traversed in multiple ways. The ancient Greeks had two different words for time: chronos and kairos. Chronos was quantitative time, the measurable sequence of moments that marches forward with mechanical precision. But kairos was qualitative time, the right moment, the perfect timing, the sense that some moments are more significant than others, not because of when they occur, but because of what they contain. As you lie there listening to these words, you're experiencing both kinds of time simultaneously. Chronos is ticking away on your clock, measuring the minutes since you began listening. But kairos is present too, in the quality of this moment, in the gentle settling of your thoughts, in the way these ideas might resonate with your own experiences of time's mysterious nature. Modern physics has revealed that time is even stranger than our ancestors imagined. Einstein showed us that time isn't universal or absolute, but relative and malleable. It can stretch and compress, not just in our minds, but in the fabric of reality itself. Time moves more slowly in strong gravitational fields and at high speeds. The universe doesn't have a single universal now, but rather countless local nows, each flowing at its own pace. This scientific understanding of time's relativity echoes something we've always known intuitively: that time isn't just about duration, but about meaning. The time spent with a loved one has a different quality than time spent alone. The time before an important event feels different from the time after. The time when we're creating something meaningful flows differently than time when we're simply passing hours. Perhaps this is why the question of whether time is an illusion is so compelling. It touches on something fundamental about human experience, something that goes to the heart of what it means to be conscious beings moving through existence. Are we surfing the crest of an eternal now, with past and future existing only in our memories and anticipations? Or are we genuinely moving through time, progressing from moment to moment along some cosmic timeline? The answer, like time itself, might be more complex and beautiful than we initially imagine. Time might be both real and illusory, both objective and subjective, both universal and personal. It might be one of those profound aspects of existence that can only be understood by embracing paradox, by accepting that our experience of reality contains layers and depths that resist simple categorization. As we continue this gentle exploration, we'll dive deeper into these mysteries. We'll examine how your brain constructs its sense of temporal flow, how physicists have unraveled time's deepest secrets, and how philosophers have grappled with questions that seem to exist at the very boundary between science and wonder. But for now, simply rest in this moment, this particular configuration of now that will never come again. Feel the weight of your body, the rhythm of your breathing, the gentle flow of thoughts through your awareness. You are experiencing time in all its mysterious glory, living proof that whatever time might be, it's intimately connected to the miracle of consciousness itself. The greatest mystery isn't whether time is real or illusory, but how it is that conscious beings like us can experience it at all, can remember the past and anticipate the future, can find meaning in the fleeting present. Welcome back to the Slumber Lab, where science gets cozy and curiosity settles into its favorite chair. Tonight, we're continuing our gentle exploration of one of the most fascinating puzzles that surrounds us every moment: the nature of time itself. In our previous journey, we discovered that time isn't quite the steady river we imagine it to be. We explored how our brains craft their own version of time, how ancient civilizations tried to capture it with sundials and water clocks, and how Einstein revealed that time could stretch and bend like warm taffy in the hands of the universe. We saw that time moves differently depending on where you are and how fast you're traveling, that it's woven into the very fabric of space itself, and that this cosmic speed limit isn't just about light, but about the fundamental structure of reality. But now, as we drift deeper into this question, we find ourselves approaching something even more mysterious. Because if time can be bent, if it flows differently for different observers, if it seems to emerge from the complex dance of quantum mechanics and consciousness itself, then we must ask, what is time, really? Is it the fundamental backdrop against which everything happens? Or is it something far stranger? Something that might not exist at all, in the way we think it does? Tonight, we're going to explore the possibility that time itself might be an illusion, a kind of cosmic magic trick that our minds perform to make sense of a reality that operates on principles far different from what we experience. We'll wander through the philosophical implications of what physicists call the block universe, where all moments exist simultaneously like pages in a book. We'll examine how memory and consciousness might create the sensation of flowing time from something that is actually static and eternal. And we'll consider what it might mean if the thing that seems most real to us, the relentless march from past to future, is actually the most profound illusion of all. Along the way, we'll discover that questioning time isn't just an abstract philosophical exercise. It touches on the deepest questions of existence. What does it mean to be conscious? How do we find meaning in a universe where past, present, and future might all be equally real? And if time is indeed an illusion, what does that tell us about the nature of life, death, and everything in between? This isn't a journey that will give you easy answers. Instead, it's an invitation to sit with mystery, to let your mind wander through possibilities that might challenge everything you thought you knew about reality. It's a chance to see time not as a prison that carries us inevitably toward endings, but as something far more beautiful and strange, a story that consciousness tells itself, a way of organizing experience that allows us to find pattern and meaning in what might otherwise be an incomprehensible whole. So settle in, let your thoughts become as fluid as time itself, and prepare to question the one thing that seems most certain. Because sometimes the most profound discoveries come not from finding new answers, but from learning to ask entirely new questions. And when it comes to time, the questions are far more fascinating than we ever imagined. The journey continues, and time, as always, is both our companion and our mystery. Tonight, we stand at the edge of one of the most profound mysteries that has captivated philosophers and physicists alike. we've traced time through the elegant equations of Einstein, felt its subjective dance in our minds, and watched it bend and warp through the cosmos. But now, as we settle into this quiet moment together, we arrive at perhaps the most unsettling question of all. What if everything we think we know about time is fundamentally wrong? You see, there's a growing whisper in the halls of physics, a gentle but persistent voice that suggests time might not be what it seems. It's not just that time is relative, or that it flows differently for different observers. No, this is something far more radical. This is the possibility that time, as we experience it, might be nothing more than a beautiful, elaborate illusion. Think about this for a moment. Right now, as you listen to these words, you feel the present moment. You remember the past. You anticipate the future. Time seems to flow like a river, carrying you from one moment to the next. But what if that river is just a mirage? What if past, present, and future all exist simultaneously, laid out like pages in a book, and your consciousness is simply reading through them one by one? This idea isn't new. Einstein himself suspected it. After his dear friend Michel Besso died, Einstein wrote a letter that would send chills down the spine of anyone who truly understood its implications. Only an illusion. Let that sink in for a moment. But Einstein wasn't alone in this radical thinking. Modern physics has been quietly building a case against time for decades. When we dive deep into the fundamental laws of nature, something strange happens. Time starts to disappear. Consider the Wheeler-DeWitt equation, which attempts to describe the quantum state of the entire universe. It's like the Schrödinger equation, but for everything that exists. And here's the thing that keeps physicists awake at night. There's no time variable in it. None. The equation that describes the whole universe is completely timeless. Now, you might be thinking, but surely that's just a mathematical quirk. And you're right to think that. Time does feel real, devastatingly, beautifully real. We age, we remember, we plan, we wait. Our entire existence seems threaded through with the passage of time. But feelings, as we've learned from quantum mechanics, can be profoundly misleading. Let me paint you a picture of what this timeless universe might actually look like. Imagine reality as a vast, four-dimensional sculpture. Every moment that has ever existed or ever will exist is carved into this sculpture simultaneously. Your birth, your first kiss, your graduation, this very moment as you listen to these words, even your eventual death, all of it exists at once, frozen in the eternal architecture of space-time. In this view, which physicists call the block universe, nothing ever really happens. There's no flow, no becoming, no passing away. There's just being. Everything that you think of as past still exists, as real and present as this moment. Everything you think of as future already exists, waiting patiently in the sculpture of eternity. Your consciousness in this model is like a spotlight moving through a darkened museum. The spotlight illuminates different parts of the sculpture as it moves, creating the illusion of sequence, of before and after. But the museum itself never changes. All the exhibits exist simultaneously. The spotlight doesn't create the exhibits, it simply reveals them. This is where the story gets even stranger. If time is indeed an illusion, then some of our most cherished concepts about reality start to crumble. Free will, for instance. If the future already exists, laid out in the eternal sculpture of space-time, then in what sense are we free to choose? Our choices, our struggles, our triumphs, they're all already there, carved in stone, waiting for our consciousness to discover them. death, too, takes on a different meaning. If all moments exist simultaneously, then no moment is ever truly lost. The child you once were still exists in the sculpture, playing in some eternal summer. The loved ones you've lost are still there, still laughing, still loving, still real. They haven't gone anywhere. They're simply in a different part of the sculpture than your current spotlight of consciousness happens to be illuminating. But perhaps most unsettling of all is what this means for meaning itself. If everything is already determined, already existing in the timeless block of reality, then what's the point of anything? Why struggle? Why hope? Why love? If it's all just reading from a script that's already been written? Yet here's where the mystery deepens even further. Even if time is an illusion, it's an illusion that shapes everything about our experience. The feeling of time passing isn't just some quirky side effect of consciousness. It's fundamental to how we understand cause and effect, how we form memories, how we plan for the future, how we love and lose and hope and grieve. Some physicists suggest that time might be what's called an emergent property. Just as wetness emerges from the interaction of countless water molecules, none of which are themselves wet, time might emerge from the complex dance of quantum interactions in the universe. From the perspective of individual particles, there might be no time at all. But when trillions upon trillions of these particles interact in incredibly complex ways, the phenomenon we call time crystallizes out of the chaos. Think of it like a symphony. Each individual note exists timelessly on the page of sheet music. But when those notes are played in sequence, something magical happens. Music emerges, melody emerges. The flow of the symphony becomes real, even though each note is just a static mark on paper. Perhaps consciousness is the conductor of this cosmic symphony. Perhaps our awareness, moving through the static notes of reality, creates the music of time. The notes were always there, but the music, the flow, the rhythm, the meaning, only exists when consciousness moves through them. But this raises another profound question. What is consciousness really? If time is an illusion created by consciousness, but consciousness seems to require time to exist, then we're caught in a beautiful paradox. It's like asking which came first, the chicken or the egg, except the stakes are our entire understanding of reality. Some researchers suggest that consciousness itself might be timeless, existing outside the flow of time while creating the experience of temporal flow. In this view, your deepest self, the awareness that watches your thoughts, that experiences your experiences, isn't bound by time at all. It's eternal, unchanging, simply observing as the movie of your life plays out in the theater of space-time. This idea echoes through many spiritual traditions. The notion that there's something timeless within us, something that exists beyond birth and death, beyond the flow of moments. Perhaps science and spirituality are converging on the same profound truth. That time, for all its apparent reality, is just the stage upon which the deeper drama of existence unfolds. But even if time is an illusion, it's an illusion with consequences. The feeling of time passing drives us to create, to love, to strive. The knowledge that our time is limited gives weight to our choices, urgency to our affections, poignancy to our experiences. If we truly believed that all moments exist eternally, would we still feel the same motivation to make them meaningful? Perhaps the illusion of time is itself meaningful. Perhaps the universe needs conscious beings who experience temporal flow in order to give meaning to the eternal sculpture of space-time. Without us, Without our experience of sequence and causation, the universe would be just a static block of matter and energy, beautiful perhaps, but silent, meaningless, unobserved. We are the universe's way of experiencing itself sequentially, of turning the eternal sculpture into a living story. We are time's way of making itself real, even if that reality is ultimately illusory. And maybe that's enough. Maybe the fact that we can even contemplate these questions, that we can wonder about the nature of time and reality and consciousness, is itself a kind of miracle. In a timeless universe, we are the part that experiences time. In a static reality, we are the part that experiences change. In an eternal present, we are the part that creates past and future. The ancient Greeks had two words for time: chronos and kairos. Chronos was mechanical time, the time of clocks and calendars. Kairos was the right time, the meaningful time, the time when something significant happens. Perhaps chronos is the illusion, but kairos is the reality. Perhaps what matters isn't the flow of time itself, but the meaning we create within that flow. As you lie here tonight, feeling the gentle passage of moments, remember that you are participating in one of the universe's greatest mysteries. Whether time is real or illusory, whether it flows or stands still, you are here, now, experiencing this moment. And that experience, whatever its ultimate nature, is precious beyond measure. The question of whether time is an illusion may never be fully answered. It touches on the deepest mysteries of consciousness, reality, and existence itself. But perhaps the question is more important than the answer. Perhaps the very fact that we can ask it, that we can wonder about the nature of our own experience, is what makes us human. So as you drift towards sleep, let yourself float in the mystery. Whether you're moving through time or time is moving through you, whether the future is fixed or open, whether this moment will last forever or pass in an instant, you are here. You are aware. You are part of the vast, strange, beautiful puzzle of existence. And in a universe where time might be an illusion, perhaps the only thing that's truly real is this: the fact that someone, somewhere, is wondering about it all. The fact that consciousness exists to ask these questions, to feel these mysteries, to experience the profound strangeness of being. Rest now, knowing that you are part of something far greater and more mysterious than our daily experience suggests. Whether time is real or illusory, whether moments pass or endure forever, you have touched something eternal simply by wondering about it. Sweet dreams, fellow traveler through the mystery of time. As we gently drift deeper into the cosmic dance of time, we find ourselves at a crossroads where the very fabric of reality begins to whisper its most profound secrets. We've wandered through the landscapes of physics and philosophy, touched the edges of consciousness and causality, and now we arrive at perhaps the most intimate question of all. What does it mean to live in time when time itself might be nothing more than a beautiful illusion? Picture yourself standing at the edge of a vast ocean at twilight. The waves roll in with perfect rhythm, each one carrying stories from distant shores, each one unique, yet part of an eternal pattern. This is how we exist within time, riding the waves of moments that seem to flow from past to future, never quite able to step outside the current to see the whole ocean at once. And yet, as we've discovered, perhaps that ocean is not flowing at all. Perhaps every wave, every ripple, every grain of sand exists simultaneously in what physicists call the block universe. But here's where the mystery deepens into something almost magical. If time is indeed an illusion, if all moments exist eternally in some vast four-dimensional sculpture, then what creates our experience of now? Why do we feel ourselves moving through time like passengers on a cosmic train, watching the scenery change outside our windows? The answer may lie not in the physics of space-time, but in the very nature of consciousness itself. Consider this gentle thought. Consciousness might be the universe's way of experiencing itself moment by moment, like a reader moving through the pages of an infinite book. Each page already exists, the story is already written, but the act of reading, of experiencing, creates the illusion of narrative flow. Your memories aren't just records of the past, they're the threads that weave your present moment into the tapestry of your personal story. They create the sense of continuity, the feeling that you are the same person who went to sleep last night and woke up this morning. This brings us to one of the most beautiful paradoxes of existence. Even if time is an illusion, it's an illusion that gives life meaning. The fleeting nature of moments, the bittersweet knowledge that nothing lasts forever, the precious weight of a single heartbeat, all of these derive their power from our experience of temporal flow. If we could see all moments at once, if we lived in the eternal now of the block universe, would a sunset still move us to tears? Would a child's laughter still fill us with joy? Would love still feel like the most important thing in the cosmos? Perhaps this is why consciousness evolved to experience time as a river rather than a lake. Perhaps the illusion of temporal flow is not a bug in the system, but a feature, not a limitation, but a gift. It allows us to hope, to dream, to work toward futures that feel uncertain, even if they're already carved in stone. It gives weight to our choices, meaning to our struggles, and preciousness to our connections with others. And what of free will in this timeless universe? If everything that will happen has already happened, if your future self is already reading these words, just as your past self is remembering them, then what does it mean to choose? Here too, the answer might lie in the nature of experience itself. Even in a deterministic universe, even in a block of space-time where all events coexist, the experience of choosing feels real because it is real to consciousness. The deliberation, the weighing of options, the moment of decision, these create the texture of lived experience, even if the outcome was always inevitable. Think of it like this. When you watch a movie for the second time, you know how it ends, but you can still be moved by the characters' struggles, still feel tension during the dramatic moments, still experience joy at the happy ending. The predetermined nature of the story doesn't diminish its emotional impact. Perhaps our lives are similar, predetermined yet meaningful, scripted yet authentic to our experience. This perspective offers a strange kind of comfort. If time is an illusion, then perhaps loss is also an illusion. The people we've loved and lost, the moments of joy that seem to have vanished, the versions of ourselves that feel like they've died and been reborn. None of these are truly gone. They exist eternally in their own slice of space-time, as real and present as this moment you're experiencing now. Death becomes not an ending, but a boundary, not a cessation, but a completion of a beautiful, complex, four-dimensional sculpture that is a human life. And yet, we must be careful not to let this cosmic perspective diminish the reality of our immediate experience. Even if time is an illusion, pain still hurts, love still matters, beauty still takes our breath away. The fact that all moments might coexist eternally doesn't make this moment any less precious. If anything, it makes it more so, because this moment, this exact configuration of thoughts and feelings and sensations, will never come again. It will exist forever in the block universe, but it will never be re-experienced, never be relived, never be anything other than what it is right now. So perhaps the deepest wisdom about time is learning to live fully within the illusion while being gently aware of the greater mystery. To savor the flow of moments while understanding that flow itself might be a creation of consciousness. To make choices with full engagement while accepting that those choices might be part of a larger pattern we can't see. To love deeply despite, or perhaps because of time's apparent passage. In the end, whether time is real or illusory, whether we're flowing through it or it's flowing through us, whether we're writing our story or simply reading it, the experience of being human remains profound and precious. We are conscious beings having a temporal experience in a possibly timeless universe. And that contradiction, that mystery, that beautiful impossibility might be exactly what makes existence so extraordinary. So tonight, as you prepare for sleep, as you feel yourself drifting toward dreams where time becomes even more fluid and strange, remember that you are part of something magnificent. You are consciousness experiencing itself through the lens of temporality, a universe coming to know itself one moment at a time. Whether those moments are real or imagined, flowing or static, they are yours to experience, yours to savor, yours to live fully. And in that living, in that experiencing, in that gentle dance between being and becoming, perhaps we find the closest thing to truth that consciousness can know. So here we are, standing at the threshold between knowing and being, between understanding time as an abstract concept and feeling its pulse in our very bones. We've journeyed through centuries of wonder, from ancient sundials to quantum mysteries, from Einstein's revelations to the whispers of consciousness itself. And now, in these final moments together, we must ask the most human question of all. What does it mean to live within time's embrace? Perhaps the most profound realization from our exploration is this: time may indeed be an illusion, but it is the most beautiful illusion we possess. Even if physics one day proves that all moments exist simultaneously in some vast block universe, even if consciousness creates the flow we experience, even if tomorrow we discover that time is nothing more than a story the mind tells itself, it remains the story that gives life its meaning. Think of it this way. A symphony exists complete on the page, every note present at once in the composer's mind. But the magic happens in the unfolding, in the way melody emerges through duration, in how silence gives weight to sound and anticipation gives sweetness to resolution. Time is the performance of existence, the way the universe experiences itself moment by precious moment. And what a performance it is. In the span of a human lifetime, approximately 2.5 billion seconds, we witness stars being born and dying. We feel the earth turn beneath our feet. We watch children grow into adults who carry forward the endless conversation of consciousness. We love, we lose, we discover, we create. All of this happens not despite time's nature, but because of it. The physicist Carlo Rovelli suggests that time is not fundamental but emergent, arising from our perspective as conscious beings, embedded in a complex, ever-changing world. If he's right, then time is not something we are trapped within, but something we participate in creating. Every moment of awareness, every memory formed, every choice made, contributes to the grand weaving of temporal experience. This brings us to a quietly revolutionary idea. If time emerges from consciousness, then consciousness is not separate from the universe but intrinsic to it. You are not observing time from the outside. You are time observing itself. Every tick of your internal clock, every heartbeat, every thought that flows from present to memory is the cosmos awakening to its own existence. And perhaps this is why the question of time's reality feels so urgent, so personal. It's not merely an abstract puzzle for physicists to solve. It touches the very core of what it means to be human, to be mortal, to exist in a world where everything changes and nothing stays the same. The river of time carries us forward, whether we understand its currents or not. But here's what our journey has revealed. Understanding time, even partially, changes how we inhabit it. When you realize that your present moment is shaped by light that has traveled millions of years from distant stars, when you grasp that your biological rhythms dance to the same cosmic beat that governs tides and seasons, when you see that your consciousness might be time's way of experiencing itself, then each moment becomes charged with wonder. The mystics have always known this. They speak of eternal moments, of time standing still in the face of beauty or love or truth. Perhaps they glimpse what physics is slowly discovering, that beneath the flow of seconds and minutes lies something timeless, something that connects every moment to every other moment in ways we're only beginning to understand. Modern neuroscience adds another layer to this mystery. Your brain doesn't just measure time, it creates temporal experience from a symphony of neural processes. The same brain that can imagine past and future, that can remember yesterday and plan tomorrow, that can slow time in moments of crisis or speed it up in moments of joy. Your perception of time is as much a creative act as it is a passive reception. This suggests something profound about human agency within time's flow. Yes, we are carried by currents we didn't choose, swept along by the arrow of entropy, bound by the speed of light and the structure of space-time. But we are also active participants in creating temporal meaning. We choose what to remember, what to anticipate, how to inhabit the present. We write stories that give shape to time, create rituals that mark its passage, build relationships that transcend its boundaries. Consider the simple act of making a promise. When you promise to meet someone tomorrow, you are reaching across time, creating a bridge between present intention and future action. You are asserting that despite all the uncertainty, despite the flow and change, something can remain constant. This is not defying time but working within it, using its structure to create meaning and connection. Or think about the way love transforms temporal experience. In love, we carry the past forward, we invest in an uncertain future, and we find in the present moment something that feels eternal. The beloved's face becomes a kind of time machine, instantly connecting us to memories and hopes, making every second both fleeting and forever. Art, too, plays with time in profound ways. A painting captures a moment, but invites contemplation that can last hours. A piece of music unfolds in time, but creates patterns that seem to transcend it. A story takes us on a journey through imagined time, showing us how events connect, how causes lead to effects, how meaning emerges from sequence. And what of death, that ultimate temporal boundary? Our exploration suggests that even this most final of deadlines might not be what it seems. If all moments in time exist simultaneously, then perhaps nothing is ever truly lost. Every experience, every consciousness, every fleeting thought becomes part of the eternal structure of space-time. Death may be the end of change, but not the end of being. This is not to diminish the reality of loss or the poignancy of endings. Rather, It's to suggest that our relationship with mortality might be more complex than we imagine. We are temporal beings, yes, but we are temporal beings embedded in something larger, something that encompasses all times and transcends them. The question of whether time is an illusion ultimately becomes a question about the nature of experience itself. What makes something real? Is it its fundamental existence in the laws of physics, or is it its power to shape consciousness, to create meaning, to generate the felt sense of being alive in the world? Perhaps the answer is both. Time may not be fundamental to the deepest structure of reality, but it is fundamental to the structure of experience. It is the dimension in which consciousness unfolds, the stage upon which the drama of existence plays out, the rhythm that turns mere being into becoming. And so, we return to where we began, to the simple mystery of now. This moment, reading these words, aware of awareness itself, is both a fleeting instant in the vast sweep of cosmic time and a doorway into the timeless. The present moment is where time reveals its deepest secret, that it is not our prison but our gift, not our limitation but our liberation. In the end, whether time is an illusion or not may be less important than how we choose to live within it. Will we rush through our days as if time were scarce, or will we savor them as if each moment were infinite? Will we see ourselves as victims of time's passage, or as participants in its creation? Will we fear the future, cling to the past, or learn to dance with the eternal now? The mystics, the poets, and perhaps the physicists all point toward the same insight. Time is not something that happens to us, but something we are. We are time becoming conscious of itself, the universe's way of experiencing duration, change, growth, loss, and love. We are the stories time tells about itself, and what stories they are. Stories of particles becoming atoms, atoms becoming stars, stars becoming the elements of life, life becoming consciousness, consciousness becoming curious about its own existence. Stories of love and loss, of discovery and wonder, of the endless human quest to understand our place in the cosmos. Your story, unfolding moment by moment, is part of this larger narrative. Every breath you take, every thought you think, every choice you make, adds another line to the grand story of time. You are not just in time. You are time in action, time made conscious, time learning to love itself. So as you move forward from this moment, carrying with you new questions about time's nature, remember this: whether time is fundamental or emergent, whether it flows or stands still, whether it's real or illusory, it is the dimension in which meaning unfolds. It is where we love and lose and discover and create. It is where we become ourselves. Time may be the universe's greatest mystery, but it is also its greatest gift. In giving us time, the cosmos gives us the space to wonder, to grow, to connect, to become. We are time's children and its authors, its subjects and its storytellers. And perhaps that's enough. Perhaps the question isn't whether time is real, but whether we can be fully present to the miracle of temporal existence. Can we learn to inhabit time with wonder rather than anxiety, with gratitude rather than regret, with presence rather than distraction? The answer to that question is itself temporal, unfolding moment by moment in the choices we make, the attention we pay, the love we give. Time may be an illusion, but the life we live within it is real beyond measure. And in the end, that may be the most profound truth of all. The clock ticks on, as it always has, marking moments that may be eternal, measuring duration that may be illusion, counting seconds that connect us to the deepest mysteries of existence. And we, temporary arrangements of atoms and energy and consciousness, dance briefly in time's embrace, grateful for the gift of being present to the wonder of it all. Time flows on, and we flow with it, part of something larger than ourselves, yet intimately, irreducibly our own. In this flow, in this dance, in this eternal now that is always becoming then, we find not the answer to time's mystery, but something better. We find ourselves fully alive in the dimension where life becomes possible, where love becomes real, where consciousness touches the infinite through the simple, profound act of being present to what is. And perhaps, in the end, that presence is what time is for. Not to be solved, but to be lived. Not to be escaped, but to be embraced. Not to be conquered, but to be danced with. One precious, irreplaceable moment at a time. The mystery remains, beautiful and unsolved, an eternal question mark at the heart of existence. Stories about seconds and minutes, about clocks that tick and calendars that turn, about the relentless march from past to future. But tonight, as you settle into the quiet space between waking and sleeping, I want to whisper a different kind of story. A story about the deepest mystery woven into the fabric of existence itself. You see, time isn't just something that happens around you. It's not merely the background music of your days or the silent curator of your memories. Time might be the most profound illusion ever conjured by consciousness. A trick so convincing that even physicists spend lifetimes trying to peek behind its curtain. And what they've found there, in the equations and experiments, in the quantum foam and the curvature of space-time, is both beautiful and bewildering. Tonight, we're going to drift through the looking glass of temporal perception, where Einstein's clocks slow to a crawl, where your memories sculpt the very experience of duration, where the universe might be a four-dimensional sculpture with no moving parts at all. It might be far stranger than you ever imagined. So before we begin this gentle journey through the corridors of time, let me ask you something. Right now, in this moment, what does time feel like to you? Is it flowing like a river, carrying you forward? Is it standing still, suspended in the amber of attention? Or perhaps it's something else entirely, something that words haven't quite learned to capture. The ancient Greeks had two words for time that reveal something profound about its nature. Chronos, the quantitative time of clocks and schedules, the mechanical march of minutes that governs our appointments and deadlines, and Kairos, the qualitative time of moments that matter, the eternal now of a sunset or a kiss or a realization that changes everything. Most of us live so thoroughly in Chronos that we forget Kairos exists at all. But in dreams, in meditation, in those rare moments when the world seems to hold its breath, Kairos whispers its secrets. Your brain, that 3-pound universe nestled between your ears, is constantly performing one of the most remarkable magic tricks in nature. It takes the ceaseless flow of sensory information, the cascade of neural firing, the biochemical symphony of neurotransmitters, and from all of this creates the seamless experience of temporal flow. But here's the thing about magic tricks: once you understand how they work, reality becomes even more astonishing than the illusion. Consider this. There is no single clock in your brain, no master timekeeper marking the seconds. Instead, time emerges from the complex interplay of multiple neural networks, each operating on different scales, each contributing its voice to the temporal choir. Your circadian rhythms pulse with the ancient memory of earthly rotation. your working memory holds the immediate past in a kind of mental echo. Your emotional centers color each moment with feeling, stretching some experiences and compressing others. When you're deeply absorbed in something you love, when you're in what psychologists call flow, time doesn't slow down or speed up. It simply becomes irrelevant. The part of your brain that usually tracks duration, that counts the passing moments, goes offline. You slip through the cracks of chronos into the timeless realm of pure experience. And when you emerge, blinking in surprise at the clock, you've touched something that points toward time's true nature. But what if the flow of time that feels so real, so fundamental to your experience, is actually an artifact of consciousness itself? What if time, as Einstein showed us and as quantum mechanics hints, is far stranger than our intuitions suggest? In the equations of physics, past, present, and future all exist simultaneously. The universe doesn't unfold, it simply is, stretched across 4 dimensions like a vast sculpture carved from space-time itself. This isn't just abstract physics. This touches the very core of what it means to be human, to have memory and anticipation, to feel the weight of mortality and the lightness of possibility. If time is an illusion, what does that mean for free will, for cause and effect, for the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and where we're going? There's a paradox at the heart of temporal experience. The more deeply we examine time, the more it seems to dissolve under scrutiny. Yet the dissolution itself reveals something profound about the nature of consciousness, about the mysterious relationship between mind and reality, about the strange loops and recursive depths of existence itself. Perhaps time is consciousness's way of making sense of existence, of creating narrative from the static perfection of eternal being. Perhaps our experience of temporal flow is like the way we experience motion in a film, each frame static, but consciousness weaving them into the illusion of movement, of story, of meaning. The film doesn't actually move, but something in us does, something that transforms sequence into significance. And here's where the mystery deepens. If time is indeed an illusion created by consciousness, then consciousness itself exists somehow outside of time, or perhaps more accurately, as the very condition that makes temporal experience possible. You are not just in time, you are the opening through which time enters the world. Your awareness is the screen on which the movie of existence plays, frame by frame, moment by moment. This realization doesn't diminish the importance of temporal experience, it deepens it. Every moment becomes precious, not because it's fleeting, but because it's the universe becoming conscious of itself, reality examining its own nature through the lens of your awareness. The urgency you feel, the poignancy of passing time, the bittersweet beauty of transience, these aren't mistakes or illusions to be overcome. They're features of consciousness engaging with the deepest structures of existence. When you feel time slipping away, when you ache for more moments with someone you love, when you wish you could hold on to an experience forever, you're not being sentimental. You're responding to something real and profound, the fact that consciousness is how the universe experiences itself, and that experience is necessarily temporal, necessarily flowing, necessarily tinged with the awareness of its own impermanence. But if time is an illusion, it's the most beautiful, the most necessary, the most meaning-making illusion imaginable. It's the framework within which love becomes possible, within which growth and change and healing can occur. It's the canvas on which we paint our lives, the stage on which the drama of existence unfolds. Without time, there would be no stories, no becoming, no journey from ignorance to understanding. So as we continue this exploration, remember that questioning time's reality doesn't require abandoning temporal experience. Rather, it invites us to hold it more lightly, to see it more clearly, to appreciate the profound mystery of being conscious creatures in a universe that may be far stranger and more wonderful than our everyday experience suggests. Whether time is ultimately real or illusory, whether it flows like a river or stretches like a landscape, whether it's fundamental to reality or emerges from consciousness itself, one thing remains certain. This moment, right now, is where you are. This eternal present is the only time you ever actually inhabit. The past lives only in memory, the future only in imagination. What's real is this breath, this heartbeat, this gentle drift towards sleep. And in that drifting, as consciousness softens its grip on the need to track and measure and organize temporal experience, perhaps you'll catch a glimpse of something deeper. Perhaps you'll taste that timeless awareness that mystics have always claimed lies at the heart of being. Perhaps you'll discover that while time may be an illusion, the awareness that experiences time is as real as anything in the universe. Opens into mysteries that touch every aspect of human experience. It invites us to reconsider our relationship with mortality, with meaning, with the nature of existence itself. And as we drift deeper into these mysteries, as we let our ordinary assumptions about time dissolve into something more fluid and strange, we might find that we're not losing anything important. We're discovering something essential about what it means to be conscious in a universe far more mysterious and beautiful than we ever dared imagine. So let time be what it is, or what it isn't. Let it flow or stand still. Let it be real or illusory. What matters is this moment of exploration, this gentle inquiry into the deepest structures of reality, this quiet companionship between your awareness and the great mystery of existence itself. In questioning time, we're really questioning the nature of consciousness, of reality, of what it means to be here at all. So here we are, at the quiet end of our journey through time's deepest mysteries. We've wandered from ancient sundials to atomic clocks, from Einstein's curving space-time to quantum mechanics' fuzzy edges. We've explored how time stretches and shrinks, how it might emerge from deeper realities, and how our consciousness weaves it into the fabric of our daily experience. But perhaps the most profound realization we've encountered is this: time may not be what we thought it was at all. It might not be the flowing river we imagine ourselves riding, but rather a vast landscape where all moments exist simultaneously, each as real as any other. Our experience of moving through time might be less like a journey and more like consciousness illuminating different pages in an eternal book. This perspective is both humbling and liberating. If all moments exist equally, then the love you've felt, the beauty you've witnessed, the connections you've made, they're not lost to some irretrievable past. They exist timelessly in the great tapestry of reality. The future, too, isn't some distant uncertainty, but a realm as real as this present moment, waiting to unfold into your awareness. Yet whether time is fundamental or emergent, flowing or static, real or illusory, one truth remains unchanged. Your experience of it is precious. The fleeting nature of moments, whether real or imagined, gives them their poignancy. The urgency of now, whether actual or constructed by consciousness, drives us to love, to create, to connect, to find meaning in the brief spark of awareness we call life. Science may one day fully decode time's mysteries. We might learn to manipulate it, to peer deeper into its quantum foundations, or even to step outside its apparent flow. But no equation will ever capture the feeling of watching a sunset with someone you love. the bittersweet ache of remembering childhood summers, or the quiet anticipation of tomorrow's possibilities. Time, in the end, is both the stage upon which the universe performs its grand symphony and the melody that gives that performance meaning. It's the rhythm that turns chaos into story, that transforms mere existence into experience. Whether it's an illusion or the deepest truth of reality, time is the gift that allows consciousness to unfold, to remember, to hope, and to wonder. So as you drift towards sleep tonight, wherever and whenever you are, remember that you are part of something magnificent. You are a pattern of consciousness riding the mysterious flow of time, briefly illuminated in the vast cosmic dark, experiencing this moment that may be eternal or may be fleeting, but is undeniably, beautifully yours. Time may be slippery, strange, and possibly illusory, but your experience of it, your memories and dreams, your hopes and fears, your capacity to love and wonder and question, these are as real as anything in the universe, and perhaps that's enough. Perhaps that's everything. Sleep well, fellow traveler through time's mystery, and may your dreams dance freely in dimensions beyond our understanding.